All right, this is the AMA, the Ask Me Anything. Today is June 27th. It is a Saturday. Traditionally, we have done this on a Thursday, but I was traveling with the family, so here we go. So thanks everybody for making it happen. As always, we had a lot of good questions, and I tried to go through just before we went on here and scratch down what got upvoted the most. This one was upvoted by far the most. From Megan Winton. What are your thoughts on CrossFit's new pending owner, Eric Roza, and do you think the future of CrossFit is in promising hands? Would you consider going back as an affiliate? Why or why not? We'll support you either way. Thank you so much. So, great question. And I'll get right to this one just first and foremost. Linchpin Athletics is a CrossFit affiliate. It is a CrossFit affiliate, so we are in. You know, man, a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks, and I actually did a video about this on Instagram on June 12th, and it's still there in the feed. You can go just to the regular Instagram page and check it out from June 12th. I'm trying to encapsulate this as quickly as we can because, again, so much has happened in the last couple of weeks. But, you know, when everything was going nuts and going crazy, and some affiliates were leaving and de-affiliating, at that point in time, I was not optimistic that things were going to change. And so I was like, I can't, if things aren't going to change, I can't be a part of that. And so it breaks my heart. I mean, I literally had tears in my eyes making that announcement that, you know, I'm not going to be able to be a CrossFit affiliate if things aren't going to change. And then over the course of the next week, unprecedented things happened at CrossFit HQ that filled me with joy and enthusiasm and optimism that maybe the future is bright and we can change. And when all that happened, there was such new information, such an incredible amount of new and unprecedented information happened in such a short period of time that it utterly and completely changed the landscape regarding the information that I had available to make decisions. And with all of this new information, the only appropriate decision was that we are not going to remove our affiliation, that we are going to remain a CrossFit affiliate. So once again, Linchpin Athletics is a CrossFit affiliate, 100%. And we are moving forward, happy, hopeful, fired up, enthusiastic, and optimistic to be a part of this positive change and the positive future of CrossFit that will start with trainers and HQ and affiliates changing our perception all around the world and how we do business and interact with people, and nothing could make me happier than to be a part of that. So yes, I'm stoked, we're in, and the new owner and CEO, Eric, I don't believe that I've ever met him. I've done a lot of level 1 seminars, so maybe there's a potential that I cross paths with him there at the games or something. I'm not sure. I don't think that I've ever met him, and I have not had the opportunity yet to speak with him personally. I very much look forward to that. But from what I can see, what I can tell, he seems to be a very capable, competent individual, passionate about CrossFit, with a history of success in business, and all of those are really good things. He's also an affiliate owner. He's a family man, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. This is really excellent news as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, Linchpin Athletics, we're in. We're in. Did I miss anything else on that question? Oh, so that was Megan's question, and roped into that, similar, was a question from Mitchell who asked if Eric is the CEO, does that mean that Castro will go back and be potentially more games focused and centered? And from what I've been able to gather from interviews and things that have been done on social media, that does seem to be the case. I think Dave is now back in the games arena. So so far so good. So we're doing all right. Okay, so that was Megan's question. Mitchell's question. The next thing that we had was 18 votes from Ms. Cook. Where are you? Right there. Ah. And she was very interested, basically, if Linchpin would ever consider doing in-person meetups and gatherings, kind of a bring your own dumbbells sort of affair. Could be somewhere up here in the Pacific Northwest, where I happen to live, or we could potentially schedule one on the East Coast or middle of the country, and what would that look like? So the short answer to the question is yes. I think that's a fantastic idea. It's been on my to-do list for a while, and it hasn't got the attention that it deserves, so I will go ahead and bump that up on my to-do list and figure out logistically what would that look like, etc., etc. But I think some in-person meetups would be a blast for the community to get to know each other, sweat a little bit together, have some laughs, and bond. So I think it's an excellent idea. The other question was, could the open be done in my garage gym? I guess it's a human possibility, but in all honesty, the likelihood is probably very low, just due to scheduling and family commitments and children and work and things like that. So that's that. And, getting back to the in-person meetup, we've got so many people now in Linchpin that I bet there's somebody, if we put out the word, there's some member that has, I don't know, some piece of property, something on a lake, like it beats me. I bet we could find something pretty cool even in the community, and of course, outside the United States as well. We could have some amazing international trips. I'm seeing something right now saying, Orlando, and we've got friends down there in Mexico, so there could be some cool things. The future's bright there. So we got that handled. The next one we had was 17 votes from Nick Williams. Nick, where was your question? Let me scroll through here. Nick Williams. Nick, where are you? Where are you? Okay, here we go. From Nick. What are some tips on dealing with low back pain or tightness, especially in the morning? I often have to work out early in the morning, and I have a tough time getting my low back adequately warmed up, especially for things like kettlebell swings or hang power cleans. I could definitely do more in the way of mobility. It's just a matter of making the time for it. So, I've got some input on that because I deal with a tight and grouchy low back just due to good old military injuries. So your low back could be tight for a number of reasons. It could literally just be your low back. It could be your spinal erectors. You had deadlifted the day before, and now they're tight. But your low back could also be tight for a couple of other reasons. A lot of people have very tight hamstrings, and having tight hamstrings can affect your low back. And then on top of that, a lot of people have very tight hip flexors. And if you have very tight hip flexors, that can also cause you a little bit of low back grief. And for me personally, I have basically tight everything. But my hip flexors, without a doubt, are far tighter than they should be. And I work on my hip flexors every single solitary day that I work out. And that might not be necessary for everyone to do, but I have played around with that stuff enough, because some things you try this stretch or this mobility drill or this special potion or whatever it happens to be, and sometimes you're not really sure if you felt anything or if it did anything. Is it just hocus pocus? But for me, I notice without a shadow of a doubt when I stretch my hip flexors with the wall stretch, and when I neglect them for a few days, I feel it right away in my low back. So for me, I know that's what I need to do. So for Nick, I would encourage you to try loosening up the hamstrings. See if that gives you some benefit in the low back. Try doing the wall stretch or the kneeling layback or something for your hip flexors and see if that gives you some relief in your low back. I also, to loosen up my low back before a workout, I like to move for a little bit, which is why, in a lot of the workouts that we put there on Linchpin, there'll be a few minutes of running, jogging, biking, rowing, something like that, or if it's a multi-round warm-up, there'll be a minute or two of some sort of engine work, so to speak, just to get you moving a bit. And then I love hip and back extensions. And I don't think everyone fully understands what the hip and back extension is. Now, it requires a GHD, a glute ham developer, but it is, for me, one of the best things for my low back, and I've been doing it forever. So you've got 3 different exercises. You have the hip extensions, you have back extensions, and then there is a movement that is called hip and back extensions. That's its own unique movement. It's called the hip and back extension. I think sometimes when people hear the term, hey, you should do a set of 10 hip and back extensions, they think we mean 10 hip extensions and 10 back extensions, whereas the hip and back extension is its own unique movement. And I do hip and back extensions at least 3 times a week. And I put them into the Linchpin warm-ups 2 to 3 times a week. And there's a reason for that, is I truly believe it has flexion and extension take place not only in your hip joint, but also throughout your spine, under no load, under just your body weight, which is fantastic. So I think it's a strength builder. It improves flexibility, and just moving in that slow and controlled fashion helps keep you from just being tight as a concrete statue every day of your life. So I'm a huge fan of moving for a bit, doing some hip and back extensions, loosen up those hamstrings, loosen up the hip flexors, and also, we provide a video of that hip and back extension when we program it, so you can go ahead and check that out. And then also kettlebell windmills, I personally think are useful as well. If you're not sure what a kettlebell windmill is, just go to good old YouTube, type in kettlebell windmill, and you will know what it is in about 45 seconds. But it's basically having your feet slightly spread out, maybe a bit wider than shoulder width, right around there. You've got one arm extended overhead, and you bend down and twist. And that bending and twisting, for me anyway, makes my low back feel really good. So that's that. Now let's see here. Okay. What about good morning if you don't have a GHD? Yeah, for sure. If you don't know the GHD, there's the pros and cons of the GHD, right? The GHD, the glute ham developer, is a big piece of gear, and it's an expensive piece of gear. And yes, you can do glute ham raises and GHD sit-ups, and you can do a bunch of stuff on it, but most people aren't going to buy that first or second or third or fourth or fifth. So the GHD it can take a while for people to get it, or they don't have one. And if you don't have one, there's a way to do good mornings with just a barbell. Good mornings are fantastic, but good mornings aren't going to give you flexion and extension through your spine. In a good morning, you're specifically going to try to keep your midline rigid and not let it yield with that empty barbell on your back or whatever loading you happen to have. But you could potentially even just simulate the hip and back extension standing, feet just flat on the ground, with no loading whatsoever, and it would just be moving your hips and your low back through flexion and extension. And even though you don't have any loading, it might just feel really good. It will also give you some kinesthetic awareness of understanding what your body feels like when it's in flexion, when it's in extension, etc., which has benefit when you're working out. And that way, if you feel something deteriorate a bit, you know what that feels like and you can recover. So there's a tremendous amount of benefit there. And you can also make some of that stuff happen with a band as well. So even if you don't have a barbell, and we have some of that shown in the videos if we put hip and back extensions into the warm-up, there's always a video link down there at the bottom that says if a GHD is not available, you can try these good mornings. You could also try these good mornings with a band, so to speak, and there's a video of the hip and back extension. So hopefully, with all of that, it kind of gets you taken care of. Let's see. Jeremy says he bought a GHD specifically because of the Linchpin programming. Excellent. I mean, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but like I said before, GHDs are expensive, and you get what you pay for. I bought a cheap one 10 years ago, and it broke while my friend was doing GHD sit-ups. Luckily, nobody got hurt. I've got one from Rogue now, which obviously is not inexpensive, but it's made to survive a nuclear war, and I will give it to my grandkids. So again, there's that you get what you pay for. And it is, what is it now, June? I'm going to be 45 in August. I still consider myself quite young. I'm not a spring chicken, though, getting older. And things catch up, and I truly believe that being dedicated to the hip and back extension on the GHD with regularity is one of the absolute mission critical things that has helped my back stay healthy and strong through 15 years of CrossFit. So I wouldn't put it in there if I didn't think it really was a valuable thing to do. Okay, so hopefully that helps out Nick there. Let's see. Mr. Walt Barnes. Walt Barnes had a question that got 15 upvotes. Where are you here? Here you are, Walt. How can we modify accessory work to target engine building? For instance, would doing row, bike, or run for a certain distance on a daily basis help? I won't get to watch the live video, but I will watch it later. Okay. Can you target the accessory work for engine work? Yes, absolutely, for sure. All right, I'm trying to encapsulate this with some degree of brevity so we don't talk for 20 minutes on this. Yes, for the engine work. And you would also want to do it, if that is an area that you identified as truly someplace that you think you would benefit from, which, by the way, I think most people would fall into that category, but everybody thinks they need more help with the barbell. People rarely ask about extra help for their engine or extra help for their gymnastics work, but everybody wants to have extra help with the barbell. So the mere fact that Walt asked about engine building, good for you, absolutely. I would do it with intelligent variants as well, depending, I'm not sure what you have at home for tools, but you mentioned rowing and biking and running, so I'm going to assume that you have some place to run. I'm going to assume that you have a rower and a bike, and I would use all of those tools to your advantage. So I wouldn't just run, just row, or just bike, and I would also like to vary the way in which you approach it and the time domain. So for example, maybe one day for accessory work is you do your warm-up, you do your workout, you rest a little bit so that you feel like you've got a little bit of juice to bring to the accessory piece. You do your workout. Did I say that? Warm up, workout, rest, then get ready to do the accessory work. And maybe you're just going to do 2 500-meter rows with 3 to 5 minutes rest between each. That's it. That's all you need to do. It doesn't need to be another huge grinding 30-minute session. And then maybe, if you feel up to it, the next day or 2 days later, you're going to do some steady state work on the bike. You're going to pedal on the bike for 10 minutes at a moderately challenging pace, not a hyperventilating pace, but moderately challenging. And then maybe 2 days later, you got in some 500-meter rows, which depending upon how you are on the bike on the rower, is a 90-second to 2-minute effort. Then you pedaled a couple days later for 10 minutes on the bike. Now maybe the couple days later, you're going to go on foot and go for a run. And to hit a different time domain, maybe you're going to do some 100-meter dashes or even some 200-meter dashes. But I think 100s would be fantastic. And then when the next week rolls around, maybe you do one 1,000-meter row that next week. And then a couple days later, you get back on the bike and you do death by calories. And then a couple days later, you head out and you're doing a few 400-meter repeats or 2 800-meter repeats. So again, you can sprinkle that in there. And every now and then also a longer sustained time domain, be it, 20 minutes of just going, 25 minutes of just going. But in building that engine, I would still keep to the classic principles that we know help people improve their fitness, which is that intensity is very important. And what I mean by that is the longer that the time domain increases just by necessity, it's going to be a lower intensity workout. And that does not mean that it's bad, that does not mean that it's right or wrong, but if we understand that, and this is an oversimplification, that most of the time, finding a way to keep our intensity relatively high based upon how we feel in our capacity is going to give us the results a little bit quicker. That's a good thing to do. But you do need to go slow and long every now and then. Absolutely no question about it. And even, I've mentioned this before, even somebody who is well known for being a long distance runner and a very fast long distance runner, such as Coach Chris Henshaw, aerobic capacity guru in the CrossFit community, in a lot of my conversations with him about people getting better at running, and even at longer distances, such as 5Ks or 10Ks, he comes back to regularly what people need to do, even to get better at running longer, is they need to sprint. They need to do 50s, 100s, and 200s. So again, it comes back to that intensity piece. And so yes, Walt, you can do it, and I would do it with some variants of the modality, meaning bike, row, run. I would do it with some variants of the time domains, etc., and I think you will meet with some good success there. So let's see. Love the engine work, Walt. Good for you. Tim Spears. Where are you, Tim? Tim's question got 12 upvotes. Here we go. Tim. I usually work out in the morning in a fasted state. I've heard this has benefits, but should this be done when competing or completing high-intensity workouts? Good question. I know we've touched on this before, and it's in a previous AMA, I believe. And when we had this question, I reached out to Eva Claire Sinkowski from Optimize Me Nutrition, because she's a nutritional guru and a CrossFitter and all those wonderful things wrapped into one. And her rough answer was, while there may be some benefits to working out in a fasted state, those benefits may not... Okay, here it is. So, if you work out in a fasted state, and because you're in that fasted state, you don't bring as much intensity to the workout, and we just chatted a second ago about how critical intensity was, then the fact that you were fasted may not have the benefit that you hoped that it would. Meaning, compared to, let's say that you weren't in a fasted state, and not being in a fasted state allowed you to work out harder with more intensity, that setting yourself up, be it fasted or not fasted, whatever way for you personally allows you to bring the most relative intensity to the workout, that should be most of the time the course of action that you embrace. And that should be what most of the time will yield the most benefit. Now, for you that happens to be working out in a fasted state, you find that your workouts go better, lifts go better, times are faster, then I would say, based upon what EC had to say, that that's your sweet spot and where you should be. But a lot of people don't feel that way, and they feel, while they can work out and do okay in a fasted state, that their workouts are maximized if they do have a little something in their system, or they had breakfast and waited a few hours, whatever that happens to be. If that gives you a better result working out, then most of the time you should do what will give you the better result working out, and that will give you the overall goals and gains that we're hoping for. So I hope that helps. Last one that we'll hit here was from Kevin Pierce. Now, Kevin's question, and then I'll go through the comments here on my phone and see what I'm missing. Now, Kevin's question here did not get a lot of upvotes. It only got 2, but it got a lot of upvotes last week, and I just didn't see it when I was scrolling through, so I told him to bring it up this time, so he did. So I have to answer here. Okay. Kevin Pierce. I bought a weight vest for Murph, and I want to use it more, but I'm not sure when is the best time to wear it or how often is a good idea. Do you ever indicate in the workout instructions when it may be appropriate to wear a weight vest? If not, is there a particular kind of workout or frequency that wearing a weight vest is appropriate? Okay, good question. I think a lot of people will benefit from this. Trying to find a way to say it that is not hurtful to anyone's feelings. Nothing against a weight vest. Weight vests are nice, but I don't think they yield what people think or hope that they will. So I think, and I could be wrong, but I've spoken to tens of thousands of CrossFitters, so I feel relatively confident saying this. I think a lot of people feel that I'm going to get this weight vest. I'm going to put on this weight vest. I'm going to do my workout, and since I'm wearing the weight vest, the workout is now harder. And since the workout's harder, it made me better, and then life is great. Again, probably an oversimplification. I don't think it's actually quite that simple and easy. If just putting on a weight vest made everything harder, and then bang, you take the weight vest off, and your times improve or whatnot, then training with a weight vest the majority of the time or with a very high frequency would be a call that everybody recommends, and that's just not how it is. And I see people do this with running as well. Like they'll do some sprints or 5K and they throw in the weight vest, which is nice every now and then for variance, but as long as you're not living under the assumption that, well, hey, I've been training for a 5K, I've been wearing this weight vest, and then when I take the weight vest off, I'm going to feel 20 pounds lighter, and then I'm going to be much faster. That's just not how it works. If that was the case, everybody would just train for the Boston Marathon in a weight vest all year long, take the weight vest off on race day, and boom, just blow across the finish line, and you'd only see, Usain Bolt wearing a weight vest all the time, and then when race day came, he would just put it on the sidelines and just win the race. That's not how it occurs. The best way that I can say it is the weight vest adds a level of discomfort and uncomfortableness and awkwardness that is a unique little subset of variance that is useful but not as important as a whole bunch of other things regarding variance. So, things that we vary on a regular basis are movements, right? Squat, dead, thruster, row, whatever it happens to be. Loadings, from body weight to light to moderate to heavy. Time domains, from short to medium to long. Repetition ranges, from singles to hundreds, right? Those things are what we focus on a lot with variance, and they yield the most results. Other things which could fall under the category of variance would be, well, I normally work out in the afternoon, now I'm going to work out in the mornings just to switch it up. That's variance, that's great, and that has value. But it's not as important as those other key elements of varying programming that yield results. Another piece of variance could be working out on a full stomach versus a fasted state. Another could be whatever it happens to be. And another one is, well, today I'm going to wear a weight vest. And those would all fall under the category of variance of the subset that is a little bit less important than those critical factors there. Now they still have value, but you just have to understand where they fall in the list of priorities. And I also, would say to some degree, training with a weight vest may not get you, I wouldn't want to do it a lot, as it may not get you what you think it's going to give you. So, for example, I remember speaking to an exercise scientist at a college. It was a professor of exercise science, and I actually think it was Pepperdine. And they said, one of the interesting things that they found was, and they were trying to relate things in exercise science to what could help CrossFitters. And he's like, you look at Major League Baseball, and somebody has the weight they put on the end of the bat, and they're going to swing these heavy bats, over and over again as they're waiting to go up to the plate. And then they go up to the plate, they take the weight off, and the thought or the hope was, well, I'm so used to swinging this heavy bat that now when I get up to the plate, the bat's going to feel really light and my swing's going to be super fast and I'm going to crush this ball. And that's just something that people did for the longest time with no science actually trying to figure out if it worked or not, because it just kind of seemed to make sense, right? It just like, okay, well, this is heavy, then the other will feel light and life's good. So I can see when you follow the bouncing ball how that would make sense. But they actually found out that that's not what occurs. What occurred was you weight the bat, you swing the heavy bat, your body cannot swing the heavy bat as quickly as swinging a lighter bat. So you're just prepping your body to move slower. You're teaching it to move slower. And then you get up onto the plate and you're not moving extra quickly. Your body's now prepped to move slower because it just felt the heavy weight. And they said they played with this a bit with CrossFitters as well. And for example, a lot of people might be like, well, I'm going to do Karen, right? So Karen's 150 wall balls for time, 20-pound ball for men, 14 for women. So to prep for Karen, I'm going to do a few reps with the heavy ball, with the 30-pound ball. And then when I get the 20-pound ball, it's going to feel really light, and I'm going to destroy Karen. And what they found was that's not actually what occurred. What would make sense, believe it or not, would be to use a lighter ball and to get your body moving quickly and fast, and then your body's primed to move quick, and then you go ahead and get the prescribed weight with your body revved up to actually move quickly. So when I see people sometimes do, for example, a sprint day or something with a vest on, I understand from just a human being perspective how that might make sense, but everything that I've seen and learned and conversations I've had with people that I very much trust their background leads me to believe that all you're doing is you're teaching your body to run slower. You're not actually running faster. And so a sprint day with a vest on, I don't think has the benefit that people think that it does. And you could take this general theme and apply that to most workouts. You're putting on this vest, you're generally just slowing yourself down. But again, that has value every now and then, because we're not just, in my opinion, we're not just training to do well at workouts. And I know a lot of this comes from my previous occupation in the military, where, yes, we worked out to stay fit, but then the gear that you would use for work, you'd have body armor on, or a helmet, or night vision goggles, or a rucksack on your back. So your body would be loaded down and it felt awkward and uncomfortable. And so there was this happy medium. If you always trained with your gear on every day, you would be to some degree limiting the amount of intensity that you could express in that workout, and therefore limiting your fitness. So you wouldn't want to work out with your gear or your kit on every day. However, if you always worked out slick, with no gear whatsoever, and never just every now and then put on your kit to see how it felt, then when you got your kit on, it would feel awkward and uncomfortable because you weren't used to using it, and even the fitness that you developed wouldn't be maximized or optimized just because now you just felt out of sorts, you felt uncomfortable. And so there would be this happy medium where the overwhelming majority of the time you should work out in a way that allows you to maximize your intensity, which would be slick, with nothing on. And every now and then expose yourself to some of these other factors of variance, such as body armor, such as a weight vest, such as a gas mask, such as whatever it is, so that you know what it feels like to have that on and deal with it, and that you can still move and you don't panic or freak out. But having that stuff on every day is not the way to maximize your fitness. So I know that was a relatively longer answer, but I hope that helps. So is a weight vest great? Absolutely. And feel free to throw it on every now and then. But I think if you've got that weight vest on 2 or 3 times a week, I don't think you are maximizing your fitness. That would be my take on that. But if you want to throw it on every now and then, there's nothing wrong at all with throwing it on every now and then. And like I said, especially depending upon your job or occupation, it might be something that I would think would be darn near mission critical, just so you understand how that feels. So, that, Kevin, is my answer. Hope that helps. And let me scroll through the comments now. Let's see what the deal is. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, okay. Megan, that must have been back with talking about the new CEO of CrossFit. Yep, I am optimistic. We've got places to stay in Orlando and Mexico. We've got Myrtle Beach, so we're covered pretty well. Let's see. Okay, good stuff about the back pain. And Brian Parker just joined today. Can't wait to start. Glad to have you aboard. Okay, let's see. All right. I think we are good. Okay, let's see. Oh, Steve, how would you translate this to someone like myself who works out and is overweight by 30 or 40 pounds? So, I mean, if you are overweight by 30 or 40 pounds, there's just no need to wear a weight vest. I just wouldn't wear a weight vest. I would focus on the fundamentals. I would focus on scaling when appropriate, whatever you happen to do, so that you can maximize your intensity relative to your capacity. And I would pay a tremendous amount of attention to diet and nutrition. I do truly believe that you can't out-train a bad diet, and that if you can, you are below 30 years old, and you got genetic gifts that most of us did not get, but for the overwhelming majority of the population, an extra session in the gym, an extra whatever, is going to be totally outdone by a bad meal or two. It's a landslide. You're in the gym for 1 hour a day, you're not in the gym for 23 hours a day. And 23 hours of bad decisions will murder 1 hour in the gym. Just no way around it. So eat clean, train smart, embrace intensity, remove ego, embrace scaling, lean on the community, have fun, be patient, and we will all progress together. So that's that. All right. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your Saturday. And the goal is that we will get back on our regularly scheduled AMA day next Thursday. Talk soon.